Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys, I'm going to be profiling for you my Dark Arm Dragon Return deck. I do apologize about the background noise if you hear anything. They're doing construction work on the house next door. But yes, Dark Arm Dragon is different from Teledad. A lot of players that didn't play back then, they think that they're one and the same. They are not. They're completely two different formats altogether. Teledad, what makes Teledad is because it's the Synchro era, Duelist Genesis, and things, and Crossroads of Chaos, pretty much. Mainly Duelist Genesis, and E-Tele with Karibans and Tank Commander and things of that nature. That's what makes Teledad. Dad Return is different. You have things like DMOC, and things of that nature. So what made the Dark Arm Dragon format was an old set card, Phantom of Darkness. Don't ask me, I randomly was cleaning my packs, going through my stuff earlier, and I found a Phantom of Darkness pack sleeve for some reason. But yeah, the Phantom of Darkness is what made Teledad. A lot of the stuff that made Dad Return viable came out of Phantom of Darkness. Allure of Darkness, Dad himself, Dark Serato, Dark Grepher, Armageddon Knight. There's a lot of cards that made this deck viable that came out of this set. This is the set that made Dad Return possible, Phantom of Darkness. It came out a year before Teledad, pretty much, or Duelist Genesis, which created Teledad. So without further ado, let's get to the deck profile. So first off, we have your 3 Dark Arm Dragon. Dark Arm Dragon is amazing in this deck. He is your boss monster of the deck. It's so easy to get the 3 dark monsters you need in the graveyard. Set up your graveyard to drop your dads. You can easily drop multiple dads in this deck very easily. Spam the board, make OTKs. It's so easy in this deck, it's ridiculous. But 3 Dark Arm Dragon. And he can clear boards too, by the way, if you don't understand. Believe me, because your entire main deck is dark monsters, you can easily just clear boards with Dad. So it's not uncommon to drop 1 to 2 dads in one turn. Next you have your Jinzo, your DMOC, and your Dark Lord Zerato. It's just some of your big beat boss monsters. Jinzo, it's a good card. It's good when you're playing the mirror match because you can stop things like Crush Card Virus, TT, Torrential Tribute, and mainly your one power trap of the deck, which is Return from the Different Dimension. Jinzo can shut these cards off very easily, and just any traps in general, and can prevent your opponent from flipping this up on you and then you losing, especially in the mirror match back then. I played back then, but I had to go back and read some articles from back then just to familiarize myself with that format and that era a little bit, because we're talking something that I believe next year this deck will be 10 years old, I think. That is I can't believe it's that long ago, but yeah, I believe next year, so this time next year, Dark Arm Dragon will be, Dad Return will be 10 years old. I can't believe that. But yeah, Jinzo just locks out background and things of that nature. Dark Magician of Chaos. This is the format that got DMOC banned because you have so many power spells. You had D-Draw, okay. MST was that one. Heavy, Monster Reborn, Premature Burial, Brain Control, Rhoda, Magical Stone of Excavation sometimes, and this card really got it banned, I feel like, because this got banned too the same time DMOC got banned, and that's Dimensional Fusion, which we'll talk about later. This card is so broken. If you guys don't know this card, if you play Dad Return, you would know this card very well. But yeah, DMOC just was so powerful back then. This is pre-errata DMOC, so very, very good, very broken, and very amazing. Dark Lord Zerato is pretty much, he could blow up the board for you. So he could help clear boards for you. He was a dark target. He did come out of Phantom of Darkness. I don't know why I keep saying Phantom of Chaos. Probably because that's a card in the deck. But Dark Lord Zerato did come out of Phantom of Darkness originally. I remember back then because I pulled one. And it was used as a 1-of in the deck. You could pitch Dark Monsters to the graveyard, set up for your Dark Arm Dragon turn play. It was a good thing where you could banish this card, bring it back, through different means. Pitch a Dark Monster, blow up the field, special summon Dark Arm Dragon now. It was a very useful card, really, Dark Lord Zerato. He could just help if your opponent went off and then you went off after them. So if you go in second and they went off first, you can just blow up their field, or vice versa, whoever went off first. So it's a very powerful card for blowing up the field, setting up the graveyard, a dark attribute for Allure of Darkness targets. It's just a well-rounded good card. So yeah. Next up, you have your hero lineup. So first off, you have your Stratos. Sadly, Stratos is not back over here in the TCG yet. He's at 2 in the OCG, but Konami doesn't like Stratos, so whatever. But we have 1 element to hero Stratos. This is after Airblade Turbo, as you can Airblade Turbo format, which I only think there was one main event for that, which was SJC St. Louis, I think it was. I can't remember, it's been so many years, but I just remember there was only one format with Airblade Turbo back then. But Stratos was a one-of at the time, but you didn't use them to search out your elemental hero monsters. Back then, people forget, for Dad Return and Teledad, D heroes were 10 times better than E heroes. So Stratos could help search out your double Mally. Now, my memory deceives me at the moment, and I apologize if I say this wrong, but if my memory serves me correctly, Mally was at 3 of. Then he got put to 2 of. Then he came back to 3 of between Dad Return and Teledad. Then after Teledad format, he went to 2 of until 2014 or 15, I think it was, that he went back to 3 of. If I said that ratio wrong, I do apologize. I just know that he's been at 2 of and 3 of off and on for the last 8 years or so, prior to 2014 when he's been at 3 of. But he was used for synchro fodder. In this attribute, he's used for tribute fodder, because you could use him easily for, bring this guy out, tribute off him with a Jinzo. There you go. So Mally was amazing, really, in this deck. You could use them for D draw and things of that nature. If you did draw double Mally, you did have Allure of Darkness to pitch it out of your hand to draw 2 cards deeper into your deck. So it was useful even if you drew double of him. Next up, you have your other D hero cards. You have Disc Commander, which is so OP. Destiny Hero Dasher, we'll talk about in a bit, and Plasma. So let's talk about Disc Commander, which I'm sorry, I don't usually say this on my channel, but this card is broken. It literally is. So, especially in this format, it lets you draw like a freaking crazy man, literally. So, Disc Commander is very simple. When this card is special summoned from the graveyard, draw 2 cards. Alright then. Why is that important? Well, you're drawing 2 cards deeper into your deck, first off. But the fact that at the same time Disc Commander was a thing, these 2 cards were both at 1 of. Premature Burial and Monster Reborn. So you could easily, very easily, go Premature Burial, bring this back, draw 2 cards, tribute off Disc Commander for a Jinzo or something, whatever you want to do, really. Bring that on the field. It goes back to the graveyard. If you had a Monster Reborn, you could activate the Monster Reborn, bring this back. Oh, and did I mention you could recycle these through DMOC? So, oh, and also Magical Stone of Excavation, you could recycle these guys as well, which we want as a 1 of in the deck. So, you could abuse this guy for tribute fodder. He was very busted. Very, very, very powerful draw engine in the deck. But he was just so... bad memories. Next, Plasma is amazing in the deck. You can bring Plasma out very easily. Dasher, if you wonder why I run Dasher in the deck, I'll read you Dasher if you don't remember Destiny Hero Dasher. Once per turn, you contribute 1 other monster. This card gains at 1000 attack until the end phase, which is cool. If this card attacks, change its defense position at the end of the battle phase. Cool. One time only, when you draw a monster card during your draw phase, while this card is in your graveyard, you can reveal it, special summon it. This card must be in the graveyard to activate and resolve that effect. So that's one of the reasons that card was good. You could easily bring this out from a Reborn card, draw 2 cards, tribute off for this card, tribute this off for this. Same thing with Plasma. So Plasma was good as well. If you guys don't know, Plasma is just a beast. I'll read Plasma's effect very quickly. If you guys are familiar with Destiny Heroes, you always should know what this does. Can't be normal summon or special summon from your hand, except by tributing 3 monsters, and can't be special summoned by other ways. But it was still very easy to get him out in the field, mainly, which we'll talk about in a second. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters while your opponent controls them. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Equip that target to this card. You can only equip one monster at a time. This card gains attack equal to the original attack of that monster equipped to it. So it's pretty much like a 1,000 Eyes Restrict. Very powerful. And you may say, well, how do you get 3 tributes out on the field for Destiny Hero Plasma, really, Seto? That doesn't make sense to me. Very simple. First off, you have the Reborn engine. You have Mali. So you have ways of setting it up, things, especially if you're in a winning position. But also, you could do this with him. You could activate different dimensional return. You had 3 banished monsters. Bring the 3 banished monsters back. Tribute them off for Plasma. Very simple. And you're banishing things left and right through Allure of Darkness, Dark Arm Dragon. The list goes on and on of setting up your graveyard, setting up your banished pile to bring things back and return them. So Plasma was perfectly fine in the deck. Then you have your Discarding Outlet, your Dark Grepher, and your Armageddon Knight, setting up your graveyard for your Dark Arm Dragon plays, making sure you had proper things in the graveyard, things you would like in the graveyard, like, oh, I want to make sure that... Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned the only non-dark dark monster in the graveyard, the only 2 non-dark monsters in the deck are these 2 guys right here. I should mention that, but it really doesn't matter. About 90% of your deck is dark, not 85%. But back on topic here. These are your enablers for the deck. They set up your graveyard. They get you out of dead situations, dead hands. That's why I like the Dark Grepher. He also came out Phantom of Darkness as well at the time as a secret rare. So you could easily just use him, pitch a dead card out of your hand, special summon him, pitch another card, to pitch another card from your deck. So you could just thin your deck out, enable play, set up for your Dark Arm Dragon. He was searchable through Rhoda. Armageddon Knight as well came out of the Phantom of Darkness, if I remember correctly. He's another enabler, setting up your graveyard for certain combo plays and whatnot. He's very, very good. So these are enablers for the deck, for your Dark Arm Dragon plays to get ready and get setting up. Because if you draw this guy and multiple dads, you're pretty much golden usually. You can drop double dad that turn sometimes. Next, your supporting cast of monsters, I guess you could say, which I had to look up what people were running back then, really. But you have Card Trooper. Card Trooper was still at one of. Troop Dupes format had just happened not too long before this, really. This card was very expensive as an ultra rare back then because I remember it came out of the Jade and Yuki pack and it was like ungoshly expensive, but that's beside the point. Card Trooper, Sangan, Famine of Chaos is a good one of I've seen people tech in, and I really understand it the more I've played this deck. Snipe Hunter and Spirit Reaper. So let's talk about these guys here. Snipe Hunter is very good. The fact that you can use them as a discarding outlet and possibly blow things up is really nice. Sangan searches whatever you need. Card Trooper, it's a +1 when it's destroyed, and you're going to also mill things, set up your graveyard possibly for different combo plays, whatever. Spirit Reaper, I know some people ran Breaker the Magical Warrior over Spirit Reaper, so that's something you could do if you wanted to, but Spirit Reaper really was really nice because, number one, it could somewhat stall you out if your opponent didn't have Dad first turn, so yes, they could, pop the card, blow up Spirit Reaper, and then you're going to get OTK'd, but it was just a little bit nice to have, really. But like I said, other people ran Breaker the Magical Warrior instead. But also, if you had cleared your opponent's board through Dark Arm Dragon, you could start ripping their hand apart with Spirit Reaper, which was kind of nice by using his effect to rip a card out of their hand. Phantom of Chaos, I'm going to read you what Phantom of Chaos does because it really is nice in this deck. Any battle damage this monster inflicts to your opponent becomes 0. That's perfectly fine. Once per turn, you can remove from play 1 effect monster in your graveyard until the end of the end phase. This card's name is treated as that monster's name, and it gains that monster's effect. Aha! So what if they destroyed your Dad? You banish the Dad. This becomes 28 attack. You can run over things, and it also gains Dark Arm Dragon's effect. It can gain multiple monsters' effects in the graveyard. Your Dark Lord Zerato, your Demok, your whatever the case may be you really want it to be, your Elemental Hero Plasma for the turn, I guess you could say. I think it could do that too. I'm not quite sure. I haven't done that before, but yeah. It was amazing, and the fact that you're banishing the card, well, that's perfectly fine and all on dandy and Dad return because you could easily bring it back through this or this, and it didn't really matter. So you could easily bring the banished monster because you're setting up your banished pile to bring them all back So it's perfectly fine. Banishing and sending to the graveyard are the two key parts of Dad Return. So yeah, those are your just like little tech cards you run in the deck. Next up, we go into the spell lineup. 3 Destiny Draw, amazing card. You have a good amount of D heroes like I showed you in the deck. So Destiny Draw is staple back then. Your 1 MST and 1 Heavy Storm for back row removal. MST was still at 1 at this time, by the way, guys. MST was at 1, Heavy was legal. So 1 MST and 1 Heavy Storm. Monster Reborn and Premature Burial. I can't believe these were both legal at the same time at one point in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, but they were. So 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Premature Burial. And like I showed you some different combo plays you could do with Disc Commander and stuff. There's a bunch of them you can do, but yeah, very powerful cards. Brain Control, Rhoda, and Magical Stone of Excavation. Brain Control, amazing. Steal their monsters. I've stolen somebody else's dad before, then start blowing up their field, and then won through that way. Rhoda helps you search your Stratos, whatever you need, your Armageddon Knight, your Dark Grepher, whatever the case may be, very good. Your Magical Stone of Excavation, you get to discard 2 cards out of your hand, which is awesome. So you can discard 2 cards, add a spell card from your graveyard back to your hand, so you can re-add Monster Reborn, Dimension Fusion, Premature Burial, whatever the case may be. You're pretty golden. So it's a really good one-of in the deck. Mid to late game, this card's amazing. Then you run your Dimensional Fusion. I'm going to explain this card to you guys if you don't understand how it works, but let me read you the card first because a lot of people probably don't remember how this card actually works. Pay 2,000 life points. Both players special summon as many of their monsters as possible that have been removed from play. Now this card came out of Invasion of Chaos along with BLS and Chaos Emperor Dragon and Chaos Sorcerer and D-Mock himself. So this card's really good because you could just pay 2,000 life points as a spell. You didn't have to set it like Return from a Different Dimension. And you could just, okay, I've banished everything I need through Allure of Darkness and whatever. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to special summon all those cards back onto the field. Excuse me guys, give me 1 second. Oop. Apologize about that. I had to go get something quickly. So it was perfectly fine because if you had your Allure of Darkness and you banished something, you could easily bring things back. So Allure of Darkness, is, as well as being a draw engine, was also something you could banish and bring things back with. So it was perfectly fine. But yeah, 1 Dimensional Fusion. We also have 1 Scapegoat. Scapegoat could help you, prevent you from getting OTK'd pretty much. And they would have to waste their cards if they're trying to OTK you with Dad and whatnot. And lastly, we got the 3 Allure of Darkness, staple in this format, amazing card in general. So 3 Allure of Darkness, really. I do apologize, guys. I had to go get up. Somebody was at the door and then they ran away. So sorry about that. But yeah, 3 Allure of Darkness, really amazing in this deck. Amazing. Lastly, we have your trap lineup. Your 3 Return from a Different Dimension. This sets up for your OTKs in multiple different ways. You pay half your life points to bring everything back that you banished. Card is very powerful if you ever played Dragon Roller format back then too. Trap Dust Shoot, amazing. TT, amazing. Clearing boards. If they try to go for an OTK, you can just blow up their field. And Crush Card Virus. You have multiple targets in the deck for Crush Card Virus. This card was very expensive back then at the time though. But Crush Card Virus is you need it in the deck. You have multiple targets. But yeah, I hope all you guys enjoy this deck profile. There is no extra deck because back then the extra deck really wasn't used for Dad Return. In Teledad, yes, you did use it. But I hope you guys all enjoy this deck. I went in depth as much as possible. I do apologize I had to walk away for like 10 seconds or whatever. But yeah, hope you guys all enjoy this deck profile. And until next time, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see you guys next time. And go Dad Return. It's a very fun format to play if you guys like playing old school formats prior the extra deck toolbox mechanics like synchros, exceeds, and pendulums and whatever. But till next time guys, take care and good luck dueling to all of you.